Hey guys, I got to share something I've never told anyone before. But guess what? You're not alone in this. That's the real deal.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Real Room podcast. And today we've got a special guest, Empress. So, Empress, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey guys, so I am Empress Sparkle. I am a clairvoyant witch and Hellenic pagan, but they're not what I'm going to be talking about today. Back to you, Ross.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, obviously, off camera, we had a bit of a chat, just to get a bit of a background about yourself. So, I want to rewind back in time and hit into your early stages of life. Your upbringing and everything. Because obviously you've mentioned off camera that your childhood
Yeah.
wasn't the best and everything. So I'd like to dive into that if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. So I was sexually abused from 2 to I was 5 by the family babysitter. And the reason I look at the camera when I say that is because it's 90% of the time it's someone we trust. And that is one of the things that people don't recognize the red flags. So one of the things I used to say as a child as well is the tiger's going to get my bum and it hurts. And a lot of people actually ignored that as a child. And then from 5, I went to live with my nana. So my mum, bless her, she couldn't deal with what had happened. So I went to live with my nana. I was fortunate as in that. I will admit that my nana, even though they were very strict and wanted me to live the life that they wanted me to live, um, they were good as in they looked after me well. I went on holidays, etc. But at the times when I went back to my mum's and it was could be hard sometimes because she was also in domestic violent relationships. So it could be quite hard at times, sort of like processing that as a child, sort of like this mixed childhood going on. Sort of like one minute you're in this sort of like perfect household where all you've got to make sure you do is keep up with your school work, and then the next moment you are in this, you've got to protect your mum, you've got to protect your siblings' household. So it was a very, very sort of mixed upbringing. And then when I was 18, I was raped by 2 people. So that sort of like was the trigger of the downward spiral, if I'm honest, for my major mental health downward spiral. But my daughter come along a year and a half later and she saved me.
That's it's terrible, but you know fantastic at the same time because obviously you've gone through a great ordeal in your life. Do you know what I mean? You've gone through an absolute shit time, and you know at any given moment in your life, I suppose you could have just got the rope and tied it and just been like, you know what, my
There
wife,
was a
my
couple of
life.
times.
I can
I
imagine. I can really imagine, and I really, really do feel for you. And again, like when we was discussing off camera, like the Netflix documentary I've been watching, and it makes you think, people who have been in your situation or who are still in your situation right now, you know, and it brings this evil person out, and they end up doing something tremendously wrong, and then they're painted out to be the bad person. But it's like what you said, you're giving people the signs. It's like throwing a frigging bone to a dog, and it's just like they're ignoring it. And it's just like, why are you not seeing the signs?
I think the reason personally, now I look back, now that I'm fully healed and stuff like that, and I look back, I think it's because a lot of people can relate to sexual abuse more than what they actually realize.
Yeah,
And a lot of people can relate to DV more than what they realize. And what they do is, especially, I don't mean this really, but the 2000s sort of early 2000s backwards, it sort of was society norms to hide it. It was normal to hide it. It was normal to say this isn't happening. this is not happening. We've got to hide it. We've got to cover it up. Not in our family. How could that happen in our family? How could that happen to one of our own? So I think it just came norms to cover it up in the family. It also came norms because one of the things that I remember, especially in the 90s, we used to have the saying, keep calm and carry on.
Yeah.
Not as many people use it now. And obviously, the carry ons were based on that expression. And I think that's one of the things for especially women like, my mum, other people's parents, it brings up emotions that they've most probably blocked and they've actually locked down, so they've not healed themselves from. So it brings up these emotions. And it also shows that they haven't protected their children in any way or form that they think. And our first instinct as a mum, as a parent, it should be to protect our children.
Yeah. No, I totally agree on that one. Like, you know, as a parent, you should protect your children at all cost, you know. And I'm probably gonna get some stick saying this, but sometimes that as a child, you know, we tell white lies and everything, but I don't think any child would lie about being sexually abused. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you must be a sadistic person if you're going to turn around to someone and go, "Oh, I was abused by my uncle and it never happened," just for a bit of attention. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, completely understandable. Obviously, as a child, we come out with things that we hear. So
Yeah,
this is one of the things that you need to sort of listen to when people are, say about, children lie. Yes, children tell white lies, but 90% of the time in that white lie, there's the truth. And the reason
yeah,
why, like me saying Tiger's gonna get my bum, to people that was, could have been a playful game and he was tickling me too much and it hurt. So people most probably assumed that way. So now, sort of like to me, I do say to people, don't be overly cautious because there is a problem the way you can be overly cautious about what a child's saying. But if they're repeating it every time that person's coming round, like as soon as I found out he was going to be the babysitter that night, I would say to mummy, Mummy, don't leave me on my own. Tiger's going to get my bum. Like it was every time. So it weren't a one off. It was
yeah, yeah,
every single time that he was going to come. I did not want to be left alone with him. And I think that's one of the things that for me is listen to how often are they saying this? Is there, how often are they saying this? What way are they saying it? Do they understand? So, if for me now, if my children come up to me and said to me, Mummy, the tiger's going to get my bum, I would go, right, okay, do you understand what a bum is? Because then they're explained to me, well, show me where on your body where your bum is. And they'd show me, and then I'd realize actually that's not their bum. Hold on. And I'd be like, what, we'll have a discussion about who is the tiger? What does the tiger do?
yeah,
And it's also when you're actually bringing up these conversations with children, we need to make sure as well that we're bringing them up cautiously because a child that's been told to keep it a secret, that's been told to hide this from people, will then go, oh, but something that happened to my mummy or something that happened to my sisters. So for me, he used to say it happened to my sisters. So I used to protect my sisters by taking it all. Um, so for me, it's like you have to then sit there and go, I promise you, if you tell me the truth, nothing will happen, that he won't be welcome back in the house. Make sure that child's feeling reassured because a child is innocent and everything they hear, um, they listen to, and that's actually how they learn. And especially from the ages of like a year and a half to three are our fun, like our main key times at learning. So if you've had someone grooming a child that young, that is what that's gonna be imprinted in their brain for the rest of their life.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, lovely.
No, no, it's fine. Like, obviously, saying what you said because it's true. Because these are if a child's saying stuff to you, you need to make sure that you're listening and you know, if it's a one-off, you know, you might just discard it. But if it's like what you just said, then if it's constant every single time when that person's coming round, or you know, you see that certain person and you freeze up, they should be asking you these relevant questions, like, you know,
Mm.
maybe not there and then, but afterwards, you know, what was wrong? Like stuff
I,
what you just said then about the tiger's bum and everything. Like show mummy or show daddy, or you know, on your body, like what's going on. And if they can't explain it, get them to draw it or whatever, you know, whatever way works for them, so you can understand. Or even puppets, whatever works for them. You know what I mean? Because they could reenact what happened to them with get two socks and just do that. It's something as simple as that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But again, you know, it's like going back to what we just said about the lying and everything. It's like, yeah, some children do tell little white lies, but again, the truth will lie in there somewhere. But you just gotta pull it out eventually, and the full story will come out.
Exactly. And they do tell, I've had my children come up to me and say, "Oh, I don't like so and so," and they've told me something, and I've gone, hold on. And I've literally looked at them and I've gone, "Are you sure that's right, baby girl?" And I've literally gone to the mum and I've spoke to the mum, and the mum said to me, "Look, this is what they've told me." And I've gone, "Right, we've got their truth, their truth. Now we need to find out the truth."
Yeah,
And so children sort of can exaggerate into what I personally have found with my own children. They're exaggerate as in to make themselves look good so they don't get in trouble as much, or they're exaggerate as in because they don't want to be around that person anymore. So I have found that with children, but I've never found that children actually will tell a lie. There's always some truth somewhere in what a child's saying, especially one under 10. Like a child under 10, there's usually somewhere there is some truth in what they're saying.
yeah. So obviously that was, you know, your childhood, your teenage years. So I wanna fast forward to now, to what you actually do as a person. So I'd like you to tell people what it is you actually do now.
So now I'm a spiritual healer. So basically, my years and years of suffering with depression, PTSD, I was medicated up to the eyeballs for most of up till about 28. I was medicated up to the eyeballs, and one day, well, when I was about 25, I met a lady and she taught me about soul healing, and said that the white lights that I've been seeing and the dark lights and all that were actually people's souls. So for years I've been told that it's sort of like in my head and stuff like that, but she was explaining to me stuff. Um, and basically, I learned how to heal myself at first. So when people say to me, "How am I okay?" it is all thanks to this lady. So I learned to heal my own soul first, bring my own soul up to a white light. I now offer this service to other people. Um, it's sort of, I don't do the counseling side because I don't feel counseling helps. So whereas now I can talk about the past, in if I'm honest, when I was there, I couldn't talk about it because it'd bring up fresh memories that I'd pushed down and wanted to forget, and it'd bring them up and it'd actually send me into a downward spiral. Whereas now it's like I have no issues with talking about it. But this is through this healing. So what I do is a lot through meditation. I also do Reiki with people. So I do I call it a form of Reiki. I call it energy cleansing rather than Reiki, where I clear the chakras and then I actually cleanse the soul. I then also help people by cutting off toxic people, soul connections. So basically, what every time, like now with us, Ross, we'll have a soul connection. Because we've met in the, we could have a soul connection from a past life as well, which I didn't know about, but we will actually have a soul connection now. So every time that you meet a new soul, you actually get a new connection. And that connection can be either a dark connection or a light connection or a white connection, depending on your experience with that person. So I actually clean them off as well. So all the dark connections, I will go in and I'll look at the memories and I'll sort of expand whether it needs to be completely removed from the situation or whether it can be left there. Because sometimes actually removing dark energies can make someone worse. Because sadly, sometimes some people come codependent on toxic
Mm.
people. So it can actually cause a mental health spiral to spiral out of control.
So how would you know, like from meeting that person, the three different ones which you just mentioned then?
So I can actually, so for me personally, I can actually see, so I can connect with the person to see the
Yeah,
soul, or some people are that open that I can actually just see it as if it's like an aura, you know, when witches talk about auras.
yeah,
So
yeah,
sometimes I can just see it as an aura. For some people, I can just feel it. So it's like, especially dark energies, like I'm straight away like, I don't want to go near you. Leave
yeah.
me alone. Like I'm straight away removing myself from them. Um,
Mm,
so it's sort of like it's very energy based. I always say it's like electric.
yeah.
Sometimes the light's switched on, sometimes it's off, and sometimes I can just hear the buzzing of the electric going through the wire.
I'm quite intrigued to learn more about it because obviously, like, you hear stuff about it and people talk about it, but like when you're face to face with someone like how we are now, it's quite interesting to learn because obviously you mentioned the three different ones. You know, you mentioned what was it, the light one, the dark one, and the white one, and it's how do you know if someone's like that certain way? Like what is the breakdown of all three? So the dark one, the light one, and the white one. Because I just assumed that there'll be a light and a dark, not three.
No, yeah, so there's no, there's three. So basically, the best way to explain it is in ghost terms.
Okay.
So your white ones won't stay here. They will get to move on. They will be able to go to, for me personally, it'd be classed as the meadows. For Christians,
Yeah.
it'd be classed as heaven. So they get to move on. Your grey souls are what I call your white ladies. So your
Yeah.
ghosts which are sort of stuck in plane and stuff like that. So they are your people which are full of regret, your people which are full of guilt, your people that feel remorse for stuff overly heavily. So sort of like a lot of people with depression actually have a grey soul, a murky soul. Your black souls, on the other hand, are your proper toxic people. They are your dark people. Um, Sometimes it can be caused by an attachment, so they may have an attachment and that's actually caused them to be a dark soul, but I would see the attachment if that is the reason why. But a lot of the time when I meet dark souls, they are just even thinking about them makes me like "Ugh." They are like your proper I'm trying to think of someone that I can use without getting in trouble, but I can't. So they are your Gastons from Beauty and the Beast.
Mm,
Your narcissist, your everything that's toxic. I can protect you, but actually doesn't protect you. I can do this, but doesn't actually do that. Promises the world, but gives nothing.
yeah.
They are your black souled people, the people you usually find going from relationship to relationship. And I know grey people do as well, but what you find with these people is they actually destroy the person that they're going on along the way. So it's like they
Yeah.
go from one relationship to another, and you'll find that that person's been destroyed. Like And the reason why I say person is because women can be black souled as well. So that is why I say person, because we do find that with some women that they do go jump from person to person, and men. And you'll just find that once they've left that person, they are just complete and utter drained and destroyed and just don't know what to do with themselves. Yeah.
So I'm quite intrigued, and I want to ask you this as well. Like from us two talking, what what soul do you see with me?
I'll admit a grey, my lovely. So I will admit that a
Grey.
grey, yeah.
So
So you're
what's a
not a
what?
black
So
soul.
what's a grey soul again, please?
So a grey soul is someone that holds on to stuff. So there is different layers of grey, and you're not what
Right.
I call murky. So you're what I call walking through the mist. Whereas you want to do better, you want to come out of this mist, but you're not quite sure which route to take. You know, you're sort of like you're at that crossroads, but you can't quite see the sign telling you where to go. Whereas which is good because that actually is, to be honest, that's a good thing in some ways. So there's some sort of regrets that need to be sort of left behind. There's some sort of guilt. I will say massively, I can feel guilt on there that needs to be left behind. Um, which is it's a good, I say it's good, and most probably when people hear that, they're like, that is not good in my head. Like that is not good. But it's good as in the fact of there's a there's a plan for healing. You can actually heal. Um,
Yeah.
the darker your soul is, the harder and the longer it takes to heal. I will just say as well, there's no attachments around you. So before you get worried about any of that, there's nothing like that. So yeah, it is. I feel I do feel that with you, lovely. So I'm worried that you were like not expecting me to say grey.
No, I was just quite intrigued to obviously see what colour I am. Do you know what I mean? I've never done this sort of stuff before anyway. Um, you know, and I think it's pretty good for the viewers to watch as well. Do you know what I mean? As to see what you can do, and you know, like I'll talk about myself a little bit for yourself and the viewers as well. Like my my upbringing wasn't the best. Um, and yeah, I do suffer with mental health myself, depression, anxiety. I have tried to kill myself a few times. But yeah, there is stuff in my life that I'll probably say that I'm hanging on to as well. Obviously, I don't want to go too deep into it
Yeah, no,
because of
no, no, you're
obviously
fine.
certain things. Not everything's been finalized and everything. So I was in an altercation, and that's got me into a lot of trouble. So yeah, I think I'm like holding on to that sort of as well. Um, and I'd say like the guilt thing. I don't feel like I'm a good father as well to my son. Um, so yeah, it's just the situation that I'm in as well. Currently, living wise, I was in a hostel for 2 years, got kicked out of my hostel. I was homeless for 2 weeks, and I'm in a shared house with six lads currently right now. Um, so obviously, if it's a bit noisy, it's just the lads in the house as well. So you probably
I
hear.
can't hear anything as loud as that.
So yeah, obviously, like my current situation right now, as you just know, I'm in a shared house with six guys, and it's just like, where am I going from here? Do you know what I mean? I've been on a housing list for over 2 years now, trying to get my own place, trying to better myself, and it's like no matter how hard I'm trying, I'm always feeling like I'm just hitting a brick wall, and it's just like, you see these massive obstacle courses, and you're like, But me, that's a big climb, that, and I feel like I'm constantly climbing over things, and then I'm like, yeah, I get to the top, and I'm like hit with something else, and then something else, and it's just like, when will I ever get a break from everything? Do you know what I mean? Where I can just be like, I'm just totally relaxed, because every single day I feel on edge. I feel, you know, not pressured. Not, I won't say that for the word, but I don't know how to word it. But yeah, I just feel constantly on
Walking through
edge.
the fog. That's where I
Yeah,
like
that, that
to.
that's so yeah, that's me personally.
No, and thank you for sharing that with me. I will
No,
just
no,
say
it's
that that
fine.
bit.
It's just so obviously like the viewers obviously can get a bit of a background as well. Do you know what I mean? I have opened up massively on my other podcasts that I do, but for my new one, obviously, I'd like to give a bit of an insight for people. First episode and everything, so people, and then it's like what you said. Then the grey soul. So obviously, you can understand a little bit more as well. So
Yeah, and it there is a chance of healing. One of the most important parts of healing is we keep trying. That
yeah,
is one of the most
definitely.
important bits. And it is hard when you're in that stage. I remember when I was walking through the fog, as they call it, and literally as I was walking through the fog, I can remember you'd literally finally pick a path. So I think for especially my guys that have come over and listen, this would be the easiest way for me to explain it to them because they're used to my cryptic talks. Um, you're walking through the path, you finally chose a path. I said about them paths that you feel like you're sort of stood looking at. You
Yeah,
finally choose a path, you walk along that path, it's so foggy, and all of a sudden you bang into a wall and you're
yeah,
like, sugar. So you've got to turn around, go back, and try and choose another path. And I think that's why I call it walking through the fog, because I think that is, for me, that is what sort of like you feel like you're going through at the minute. You're walking down this path, you're not quite sure whether it's the right path, and then it's like someone puts a wall there. And sadly, I don't mean this rudely, a lot of people that put the wall there are the people we should trust. So,
yeah,
family, friends, people in power. So, the people we should actually be trusting are a lot of the people which actually put the wall there.
yeah. No, I totally agree on that one. And you know, with the people that you're supposed to trust, and it's hard, really, I suppose, because we get told that you know you're in safe hands. These people won't hurt you. They're supposed to love you, care for you, nurture you. And unfortunately, some of us have a shit hand. And it's just like these people who are supposed to be there for us are not really there for us, because these are the ones who inflict pain on us, torture us, you know, mold us into when we're older, these dark people. And because of the way people have been treated as a child, you know, the final product of this person then turns out to be a nasty narcissist, you know, maybe even worse, like what we mentioned before with Ed Gein,
Mhm.
for example. I'll just use him as a reference. You know, yeah, it was
Sick.
sick, yeah. We'll go with sick. I was just trying to phrase it nicely. It was a sick person, and mentally and physically, but again, his mum didn't help.
No.
And because the way she treated him, you know, it made him worse.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that woman was supposed to love him and nurture him and care for him. But again, going back to what we said off camera as well, them days, stuff like this now, which is the norm. Well, it's not really a norm, but it's more spoken about. It's more, well known about as well. But back then, it wasn't really spoken about as much as it is now. Like me and you could openly sit here and go, yeah, well, I've got this wrong with me, blah blah blah. I wouldn't dare turn around, or you wouldn't dare turn around and go, fucking psycho. He's yeah, I'm staying away from that one. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
we've all struggled in life. Everyone has. Everyone in life will or has hit that brick wall with mental health as well. And it's like, don't feel good enough. You know, they may like be like, oh, well, I don't look good. Don't feel good about myself the way I look. You know, mentally, physically, all that sort of stuff as well. And me personally, I think I don't think it's right with how it's been discarded back then. But in a way, I think it's good in a sense that it's been discarded because, you know, it's looked into because I personally think because it got discarded, now it's being looked into
too much.
too much. And I think it's good now because if you go to your GP and go, I'm feeling this way, then they know for a fact you're a certain way about yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me as well, so what I like about now is, so my daughter's got severe autism.
Yeah,
She is one where if I take her out and about, she's got headphones on, hoodies up, she's swaying back and forth. So she would have been locked in an asylum. So it's good as in the changes of that. It's good as in women like myself would have been diagnosed with hysteria rather than anything
yeah,
else. We would have been diagnosed with hysteria. What I don't like about mental health and what I like about what you said is where it's now come too much, it's who's shouting the loudest. So the people, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, Ross, people like
no, no,
you, which won't fight your own corner, I hope you don't mind me saying that,
no, I don't
are
mind.
are left in the background. They're
Yeah,
ignored. They're left, they're discharged when they shouldn't be. They are the people where, because of the ones which are shouting the loudest, which are, I will get my rights, rah, 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 having the breakdown. And then as soon as the doctor says, oh, I'll give you this medication, all of a sudden they're fine and they get up and they walk out. You know, them ones, sadly, are the ones which are getting the best treatment.
yeah,
And I think that's where it's come too much is because people know how to use it now to their own advantage, whereas there's some of us, and I'll include myself with this, well, because our upbringing has taught us to be people pleasers, it's taught us to be quiet, it's taught us to sit in the background. Because of that, we won't shout and beckon to get what we want. I'm trying to say it as nice as I can.
but no, just say how it is. It's what I mean about the podcast. It's unfiltered. Do you know what I mean? So if you want to say it as blunt as possible, say it as blunt as possible because I'm not one of these people who's going to take offense to anything. You know,
Oh,
if you if you want to be like blah 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 blah, I'm not going to sit here and go, you know, Empress, I think that's damn right rude and disrespectful what you just said. I just take it on the chin. Do you know what I mean? So it's really not going to offend me
I
with
think
how
it's,
you want to word something.
yeah, I think when you've got experience of work in the other side, so I worked at Addenbrooke's Hospital for a while. I worked in
Yeah,
a homeless surgery, funny enough, so that would most probably be, I worked at a homeless surgery, and stuff like that. I actually I'm a people watcher. I love to sit and watch people and watch what
I'm
they're
the
up
same.
to. I love it.
Same.
And I was really shocked at that. When I was doing admin, I remember there was one person and they just kept pushing him aside. And one day I managed to talk one of the doctors into helping me convince him to get in, basically come into the surgery. When he walked in, he was as yellow as that. He was like, he matched the ambulance when we called the ambulance. And I went, this is why I've been begging you. You lot don't live in the area. I do. So when I'm out and about, I see these people. I says he weren't asking for any help. He refused to go in the ambulance as well. Sadly, he passed away 2 days later, and he was the most sweetest, kindest person ever. Like the most loveliest person ever. Really did not deserve the hand dealt to him. Like he would give you his last tenner, even though he's had nothing to eat for a week and a half. He was that type of person. Whereas I watched, we were trapped in a, I've got to be cautious because people recognizing my accent then know exactly what I'm on about. We were trapped in the surgery one day by one of them. And he was kicking doors in, trying to break into the surgery, come into the surgery to come to us. We rang the police and they says, oh, you girls can handle yourself. Because obviously we dealt with it day in, day out.
Mm.
And literally what he wanted, he got, just so he left us alone. And I sit there thinking, I watched it and I thought, how does that work? How does that work? Because, and I used to be a hostel manager at Addenbrookes Hospital, so I used to house people. And we had a lady there that was having to pay nearly £500 a month so she could be with her son that had had a liver transplant.
Mm.
And literally, no word of a lie, like it was heartbreaking because you'd have someone else that wouldn't have to pay because they would kick off at the manager, but she'd walk in and pay it, even though she was near enough starving, just so she could be with her son. And it was like, why am I being forced to do this? Why is this okay? And it was quite a shocking realization for me because I'd just come out on my healing journey. I was finally coming out, being okay mentally, myself, finally building myself up. And then I was recognizing like all these people with like good souls were being trapped like crap. And I was like, and that's how my sort of whole spiritual journey into actually, I want to heal these people. I want to show them their worth. I don't want them going through life thinking it's okay to be treated this way. Sorry, I've sort of gone on a little bit of a rant. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, it's fine. No, it's carry on. Just do what you're doing.
I'm a nightmare. I'm a talker. I am a
No, no,
talker.
it's you know what? I enjoy talking to people like yourself because obviously, if you're a talker like you are, it makes a podcast easier because you can sit and actually have a conversation with someone. The amount of times I've interviewed people and then I'll ask them a question. So, for example, I'm like, so can you tell us about your childhood? Yeah, it's okay. Grew up in this area. Yeah, got two brothers and a sister, got a cat and a dog. Yeah, it's all right. What the hell am I supposed to do with that information? Do you know what I mean? It's hard as a host as well because then, like obviously, like we said before, off camera, we'll just wing it. Obviously, I took some notes down on my laptop. My laptop's shut now, as you can see, and we've just been sat here just going off conversation back and forth, and I only took a few notes down from yourself off camera because we've never met before. This is the first time meeting, and I've really enjoyed our conversation and the interview so far up to now as well. You know, um, and yeah, it's that's the only reason why I use my laptop is just to take notes prior to meeting someone that I've never met before. So I've got something to sort of go off, if I struggle with something. Because like I said to you before, I struggle with my words and everything and I can have it up here, but from there to there, it's such a struggle. And I find it so frustrating as well.
But can I say I can see why that is? So can I just say that? Sorry guys, I'm not going into a healing, so I do apologize. But I can see why that is. That is the child within. I actually don't like that term usually, but with you it actually suits. Where you were told as a child to sit down and shut up. It's sort of like you have so much to say, but you're like, should I say it? Is that okay to say? Because that's how I was before I fully healed. I was
Yeah.
like, is that okay to say? Should I say it? And stuff like that. And I love the way you've been quite relaxed with me, because even though you say that you're nervous about saying, but you're not in some ways. I love that. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I feel like I'm quite relaxed with anyone really, and what I find quite weird to say as well is when I've met people or like when I've been on a date with someone and they've turned around to me and said, you know what, I've been so relaxed, you're so easy to just be around, and like the amount of people who said it, like friends as well, like I can just connect with you, and I'm like,
Yeah,
well, I'm not one of these people. I personally think I'm quite chilled and laid back, and I'm not uptight. I do take things seriously to an extent, but I don't take everything serious, which I think's good as well.
it is good and it's important in life, to be honest. And that is one of the things that I do during us like the healing sessions. It's one of the things that I do is actually to teach people not to take things literal, because
Yeah,
I
at face
think
value.
yeah, because a lot of people don't actually. I know it sounds weird what I'm going to say, like with everything I've blurted out, believe me, I say what I mean. That is who I am. Sometimes it gets me in trouble, but a lot of people that we meet, actually 90% of what they say is worded in a way so it's not coming out the way they want it to. It's worded in a way so they're being cautious to make sure that you are seeing them in a perfect light, or you're not going to pass judgment on them, or you're not going to do this. So I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of people do that, especially the higher in society. So sort of like your police officers, social workers, doctors, especially them type of people, they're very cautious about the way they speak, about the words that they use. They're very cautious about that sort of thing. And I think that's one of the things that it can be hard to relax with someone that's like that. So when you meet someone like us, where we're just chatty and we're just like, yeah, we don't give two monkeys, say what you want. Um, I think it's a bit like people just suddenly can put their guard down. I haven't got to be this professional person. I haven't got to actually do it this way. I haven't got to be able to watch. I'm not going to be judged. If I turn around and say to you, oh, I really wanted to hurt that person that hurt me, you know you ain't going to be judged, because they're going
Yeah,
to understand. They're going to understand that you wanted to do that. Whereas if you go to a counselor and you said that, let's be honest, the first thing they're going to do is concern, safeguarding, and
yeah,
it's like, that's not what I needed. I needed to be able to express my emotions on the hurt, the hate, the
yeah.
you know, and believe it or not, one of the things I actually do through healing, talking about hate, is I don't actually encourage getting rid of hate, and I don't encourage forgiving the person that's hurt you.
No, I agree with that as well because you know I don't think you should forgive them or forget what they've done, but in in the same breath, you should and you shouldn't. I think because like if someone's done something bad to you and hurt you, like I'm one of these like I don't forgive and forget, but I sort of do in a different sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, can I ask you a question then, Ross?
Well,
In a situation where someone's hurt you, who do you
if
blame?
who do I blame? It would depend on the situation, really. So
I
if you could do it like a scenario, then I could probably give you a more detailed answer.
I can tell you now, 100% of the time you blame yourself. I can tell everyone now that's watching this. 100% of the time you blame yourself. What did I do wrong? What did I say to cause that person to do that?
Yeah,
Why did I meet that person? You blame yourself.
I'd say
But
I'd say sometimes I blame myself, but again, depending on the situation, you know,
I
it's
love how people don't recognize it, that they actually blame themselves in nearly every situation.
nah, I'm being open here. Like I wouldn't say every situation I blame myself, but it depends on like the situation in general. So if we was to talk about dating, for example, because you know everyone dates and everything and all that shit. So like if I'm talking to someone and see I'm one of these people, I'm quite socially awkward and I will not approach someone in the street or anything like that. And I'd use like obviously like dating apps. So I'd be talking to someone and then all of a sudden, boom, gone, dropped. And it's just like, what have I done? And then again it relates to that. And it's just like and then and what you just said then is so correct and it's down to a T when it comes to like dating and everything. As just mentioned, I'm too shy to go up to a person and be like, "Oh, hiya," because I don't know how to interact with someone. Do you know what I mean? Whereas this, easy on the Xbox, easy. Phone call, text messages, apps, easy. Face to face, first time meeting someone, I'd, I'd curl up inside. I'd curl up like, nah, I ain't talking to you. I'm walking off.
But that again is again, it's all to do with our inner child. That one for you anyway is to do. Some people it's not. Some people it's like what happened yesterday.
Yeah,
But a lot of it is to do with our inner child. It's am I managing to hide how I'm really feeling? Face to face, it is so hard. Like sometimes I watch these podcasts back and I'm pulling faces, like I'm a face puller, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing?
am I
And I'm
doing
like,
this?
yeah, I am a face puller. Whereas now I'm like so comfortable with it. I watch them back and I'm like, what was I thinking about that time? I'm now like that, and I'm like, oh, it must have been quite interesting. And it's because I sort of prepare myself for the next bit. I hold my hands up, so I prepare myself for the next bit. And I personally, what I find is with people that struggle face to face, it's because we're taught that we've got to have certain social cues. So, am I doing the correct social cue at this time? Am I reading their social cue correctly at this time? Am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? So that's why I say a lot of it's to do with ourselves. So this
Yeah,
is why when I do healing, I concentrate on you. So don't concentrate on who's hurt you or anything like that. Because for me, forgiving yourself and learning to let go of the hate that you carry for yourself is bigger than forgiving and letting go of hate for someone else.
yeah, yeah,
It's absolutely more bigger. And this is why I said that, because I don't think as well people recognize that they even blame themselves. Like, I know it sounds weird. Social services get involved with you, with the kids, and you go, oh, why is my family this way? Why was I born into this? Why was even them questions is us blaming ourselves. And I
yeah,
think a lot of people just don't recognize that. And until I was healed, I didn't recognize that in myself. I tell my hubby off all the time. He is not healed. And I will admit that to everyone. And he'll go, oh, my family's cursed. You shouldn't have married me because I'm cursed. And I'm like, sit there going, what are you going on about? Believe me, I deal with generational demons. You ain't got one. What are you
yeah,
going on about? This is your thoughts. You're causing this. And he'll sit there and look at me and go, am I? And all of a sudden he thinks, and I can see the clocks turning for you as well. And it's like, actually, yeah, even you saying, why were my family like this? You're putting the blame on yourself.
yeah,
That simple thing. Don't get me wrong, there is some things that we have to hold blame for. And there is. For me, myself, it's one of the things is my middle daughter. had to grow up too fast because my older daughter was so poorly. So she had to grow up too fast. But I've recognized that and I'm like, it's okay. She's grown up into a beautiful woman. I don't need to worry. I think there is some things where we do have to hold blame, but it's holding blame in a safe place. So it's not letting that seep into us too deep. Sorry, I went a
Yeah.
bit deep then, didn't I?
No, it's totally fine. See, now you're probably going to be a bit shocked about this. Now, when you keep mentioning your inner child and everything, I don't remember my childhood much. Like my childhood is so hazy, and I think I'm trying to think of my earliest memory to my recollection. I probably say 7, maybe 8 years old is my earliest memory from being maybe 8 back and like backwards. I have no recollection of my memory. But then again, saying that I do have a medical condition. I've got epilepsy, so my memory isn't the greatest. But like, if anyone asks me about what's my earliest memories, I can just sort of like piece things together and be like, oh well, I remember this, I remember that. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like I'd love to remember my childhood, like growing up, but I think because again, I don't remember this, so my mum told it me. Like my real dad tried to kill me and my mum when I was a baby. So we had to escape that, and we moved a little bit, and then we settled in Manchester eventually. So yeah, I think maybe it's my brain trying to protect certain things. Again, I'm not 100% sure. I can see that's probably correct because you're just like, yeah.
Mhm.
So again, I think that's why I can't remember much. But saying that, I think, well, I call him dad anyway because he's a father figure to me because from being born up to 7 or 8 years old, they didn't have a father figure. And from 7 to 8 years old, I think it were, that's when my mum met my dad. So they're like my
You no
earliest
longer needed
memories.
that security. You had
And
your
the,
protector.
and again, I don't remember much memories with my mum and dad. The memories that I do have is like going to my nana's house after school in primary school, going, like I can remember like certain memories in school. So on a Friday in primary school, we'd have like a thing called golden time. So we could have like do whatever we want sort of time. And I can still remember it to this day. In primary school, we had like this stick thing. It was weird, and it had a glitter inside it, like water and glitter and all sorts. And you turn it and tilt it upside down, and you just see these little bits of glitter like flickering inside
I
this weird
remember
tube
well.
thing. And I remember that to this day. And I remember every Friday at primary school, we had burger and chips, and then for dessert, we had chocolate cake and mint custard. I can remember that clear as day. And it's mad to think how I can remember that clear as day. But anything else I can't.
Because that's your safe time. So that's your safe time. So that is why you can remember that as clear as day. That is your safe time. That is your safe place. Um, that is why me and another podcast lady called Natasha would absolutely love you. Purely because our subconscious holds a lot.
Yeah.
Our subconscious holds a heck a lot more than what people realize. So, when you're dreaming and stuff like that, your dreams actually have a lot to do with stuff that you're thinking about. So there might be dreams where you've actually dreamt memories and you won't actually realize they're memories. You'll just be like, oh, that's a dream. That's sort of like a nightmare or something like that.
What
So
about going to school naked? Because I've dreamt that once.
going to school naked is that fear of that is
See,
always that fear.
I, I don't know if it's just me who's dreamt that, or has anyone else dreamt it, because I always wonder about like certain dreams, and it's like I wonder if anyone else has had that sort of dream in their life. Do you know what I mean? And it's so barbaric to think like, nah, it's
No,
probably me.
it's actually very normal. So a lot of people that I speak to either have the dream of going to school or work naked, or a lot of people which have been abused, I find will go to school in a skirt and they've got no knickers on, so they've been put again in an unsafe situation, a situation that they're petrified of being in, that sort of thing. So it's sort of like you're usually what you'll find around that dream is it's either your subconscious is warning you're going towards a situation that you're going to be unsafe in again, bloody pack it in,
Yeah,
or you're actually already in that situation.
yeah. And again, when you're talking about dreams and everything, some of my dreams I don't even remember. Like like I could go to sleep and then wake up and it's morning and it's like sometimes I don't even remember going to sleep. But
So
again,
for us to dream, we have to be in what's called REM, what I
yeah,
call REM. I know Natasha doesn't call it REM, but I call it REM. And we have to be in what's called REM. So it's in between sleep and being awake. So that is why when you do dream, you find you can have thoughts because you're not actually quite asleep. So it's actually the same place we're in when we're actually meditating as well. So when we meditate, we go to REM place. So it's our brain when we need to think through stuff and we need to deal with stuff. Sometimes our brain will protect us and will not let us go into REM as if to protect us and keep us in a sort of boundary, if that makes sense. Because I find that some people can't deal with what's going on in their subconscious. So, like what we were saying about that your memories are blocked to keep you protected, it's sort of like a similar situation to that.
mm.
Yeah, so it can be a bit of a dreams are a very strange place, is the way I'm going
So
to word it.
so what about someone? So I'll just use reference again to Ed Gein. So what about someone like him? Would you say that they would struggle to sleep, or would you say,
Yes. So schizophrenics, this is where I'm going to show off now because I hold my hands up. Something that not even my followers know about me is I'm actually got a qualification in substance misuse as well as counselling and
yeah,
mental health. So basically bipolar, schizophrenics, and other sort of sociopath disorders actually really do struggle to sleep. So a lot of them struggle to sleep. Um, and a lot of them, the reason being that they struggle to sleep is their hallucinations are actually worse when they're asleep. So obviously, because their subconscious mind is already a mess, their mind's already a
yeah,
mess. So when they sleep, I remember once we had a schizophrenic and he went to sleep and woke up literally obsessed. He was stuck in a demon world and there was demons all around him and he literally was literally the poor bloke. I felt so bad for him. And this is because of his dreams. So they do dream, but their dreams are do sort of relate with even their mental health issue, can relate with even their mental health issue. So
yeah.
it's sort of a bit, yeah, it's he would have dreamed. I just, I with Ed Gein, there's just something there that he needed a lot of help because I don't think mentally as well he was an adult.
No, I think a lot as well. Think he had some, because you didn't really see him as a child, So therefore, obviously, I've watched a Netflix series, so from my point of view, we don't get to see him as a child. We just get to see him as an adult. Now, it makes you think, like, what was his childhood like? Was he always told to, like, oh, stop doing that, you need to grow up, that's not allowed, why are you doing this, why are you doing that? Do you know what I mean? And then you see him wearing the girls' clothes and
Yes.
being a bit of
So,
being a bit sissified. Sorry for if I've offended anyone saying that word, but you know,
so I
it's
can actually explain this if you don't mind, lovely. So I can explain this to you.
yeah.
So basically my husband, he's obsessed with serial killers. He loves watching all of that.
I was watching
Ed
it, so
Ed Gein's childhood, I can't remember the documentary. We've been trying to find it that he watched, and they actually spoke to the actual police officers that were involved and stuff like that. And because, of course, these people had known Ed Gein since a child, his mum had to be forced to send him to school. She was very codependent on him. Like she used to try and keep him as close as she could. So she was very codependent on him. His dad was a drunk, which I think we did see that actually in the documentary that his dad was a drunk.
mm,
Um, and basically his childhood was very much like his mum treat him like her partner, but a child at the same time. So I think there come a sort of a confusion for him on top of schizophrenia, which he showed from his childhood. Because he did go round and he was killing rabbits and he was doing all sorts in the woods. So he was doing all that already. Sorry, my lovely.
right,
Which sort of like caused sort of like this spiral out of control, I think. And then obviously, I don't know whether it's shown in the documentary. I didn't watch the first couple of episodes. He fell in love with Adelaide, and
yeah,
obviously with her, she sort of introduced him to not Nazi documentaria, and that sort of caused him to be even more obsessed with the way that Bodies was. The hero in that comic was a female, so it was like all these females in his life, because Adelaide was as well, were really powerful. They had
quite
something
iconic.
yeah, I like that word. So yes, yeah, so because they were so iconic, I do love that word. Thank you for that word. To him, it was like he was, I think we could relate it to now, sort of people that get obsessed with sort of pop stars and stuff like that, especially with K-pop stan. Um, and he just saw it as he wanted to be them. So that's why he started wearing their skin. That's why he started to put makeup on, started to dress like them. You know, people didn't even know his mum had passed away because he was dressing up like her and
Yeah,
being like her. So it's sort of like all these little things, when you actually think about it, to him, I can see why they made sense.
yeah, totally. So we're gonna wrap up anyway now. So is there anything you'd like to say to anyone who's watching? You know, any advice that you'd like to give to anyone who's watching?
Yeah, one of the things I would love to say to you all guys is healing comes from within, with a white light is in us. It is there, ready to be used, ready to be built up. It's okay to not quite feel yourself and feel like you're walking through the fog, and that is okay. It's about now, when you recognize that, it's about what ways can you help yourself? What little things can you be grateful for? They're the things that will help you out of this fog. They're the things which will be able to guide you through. So thank you for having me, Ross.
No, thank you very much, and it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you for the first time, and I'm sure we'll meet again and do some more
Definitely.
interviews together. I'm more than happy to jump on your friends' podcast as well if they want to interview me. I'm more than happy to get interviewed as well. So yeah, I just want to say massive thank you and good luck
Thank
with everything.
Brilliant. Thank you, lovely.